My name is Stephanie. I'm 35 years old and a single mom to an 8-year-old girl named Lily. We live in a small 2-bedroom house in the suburbs of Portland, Oregon. My life revolves around the little bakery, Sweet Haven, that I opened 4 years ago after my marriage fell apart. I used to think I'd be fine divorcing Kyle, my ex-husband. He was the kind of man who made promises he never kept. After the trial, he moved to Nevada with his new wife, and only sent a few short texts to Lily on her birthday or Thanksgiving. Still, I don't hold it against him anymore. I don't have time to dwell on people who choose to leave. I have to live, to work, and to be my daughter's safe place. Lily is the only light in my life. She has the same warm brown eyes as me, but her soft golden curls come from her father. Every morning, I wake her up with a kiss on the forehead and a whispered greeting. Time to wake up, Mommy's little princess. And this morning was no different. I had just set out a fresh tray of pastries when Lily was already seated neatly in the corner of the shop, coloring imaginary cupcakes with her markers. Everything seemed fine until my mother, Eleanor, called again. Her voice always carried a chill, as if nothing I ever did was good enough. Stephanie, are you still busy with those cakes? She began the call like that. No greeting, no concern. I exhaled quietly. I'm working on an order for Lincoln High's anniversary. It's a big one. You always wait until the last minute. Don't let things get messy. Then she paused. Can you drop Lily off at my place tomorrow? Olivia has a meeting, and I'll be free all day. I glanced at the calendar hanging in the shop. Tomorrow was the day I had to deliver 120 mini cakes for a wedding. Dropping Lily at her grandmother's house was the only option, even if it didn't sit well with me. Okay, I'll bring her by at 9. After I hung up, I looked toward Lily. Lately, whenever I mentioned her grandmother or Aunt Olivia's house, she'd lower her eyes and go quiet. I had started to notice. Olivia is my older sister, the one Mom always held up as the perfect example. She went to a prestigious college, married into a proper family, and then got divorced after discovering her husband was unfaithful. She moved back into our mother's large house with her 11-year-old son, Benjamin. Benjamin is a difficult child. To adults, he seems smart and lively, but Lily sees things differently. Every time I pick her up from Mom's, she's quieter, less smiley, and clings to me more than usual. When I ask, she just says softly, "It's okay, Mommy," but her eyes look like they're hiding something. That night, I made a simple dinner. Creamy spaghetti, Lily's favorite. As I set the plate on the table, she looked up and asked, "Mommy, do I have to go tomorrow?" I sat down, gently touching her hand. "I have to make a delivery all morning. I can't bring you this time, but I promise I'll pick you up early, okay?" Lily nodded slightly, then returned to her coloring. She didn't say another word. After putting her to bed, I sat alone in the kitchen. Outside the window, a full moon hung over the quiet Portland sky. I closed my eyes, hoping tomorrow would pass gently. But inside, a quiet unease stirred, like something was waiting to break. I didn't know what was coming, but I had a feeling this time. It would change everything. The next morning, it was drizzling. Raindrops tapped gently on the car window, matching the heaviness in my chest. Lily sat in the back seat, hugging the pink stuffed bunny I'd sewn for her 7th birthday. She didn't say a word the whole ride. Normally, she'd ask about the bakery order or tell me stories about her classmates, but today, just silence. I pulled up in front of my mother's big gray house. The steps were clean, the bushes neatly trimmed as always, but no matter how tidy, this place always gave me chills. There was something rigid about those white-painted walls. A suffocating kind of order, not meant for gentle children. "Sweetheart, I'll be back to get you at 2, I promise." I turned and smiled. Lily gave a small nod. No smile in return, no hug. Just a look that squeezed my heart. My mother, Eleanor, opened the door before I could even ring the bell. She wore a beige coat, hair neatly pinned back. "Right on time," she said, expressionless. I meant to reply, but all I said was, "Thanks for helping." Inside, I saw Olivia sitting on the couch with her laptop. She glanced at me, then looked back at the screen. Benjamin was at the end of the hallway, playing something on a tablet. He didn't bother looking up at Lily. "Bye, Mommy," Lily whispered, then stepped into the house, still clutching her stuffed bunny. I returned to the car, uneasy. Something felt wrong, like my daughter was walking into a place she didn't want to belong to. But I had to work. I had to finish the wedding order or risk losing my biggest client of the month. All morning, I rushed between the oven and the decorating counter, but my mind kept circling back to the look in Lily's eyes as she stepped out of the car. I'd seen that look before, 2 weeks ago, when I picked her up from Mom's. She moved slowly, didn't run to hug me like usual, just stood at the door and nodded when I asked if she'd had fun. I thought she was just tired. It was fear. At exactly 2 o'clock, I was back at my mother's house. I hurried to the door and knocked 3 short times. My mother opened it with a polite smile. "You're a few minutes early." "I promised I'd be here," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "Where's Lily?" "Probably in the room playing with Benjamin." I quickly stepped inside. Olivia was still there, didn't even glance up. I headed straight upstairs. The guest room, where Lily usually played, was silent. I pushed the door. No one inside. My heart started pounding. I went to Benjamin's room. The door was slightly ajar. When I opened it, Lily was curled up in the corner of the bed, holding her bunny, eyes red. Benjamin was playing a game, headphones on, not noticing me. "Lily?" I walked over. She looked up but said nothing, just buried her face in my shirt when I knelt to hug her. "What's wrong, sweetheart? Did something happen?" I whispered. She shook her head, but her fingers clutched my sleeve like she'd fall apart if she let go. I turned to Benjamin. "Did something happen?" He took off one side of his headphones, looked at me casually. "I didn't do anything, just playing my game." I didn't answer. I knew that evasive look too well. Back downstairs, I said goodbye to Mom and Olivia mechanically. Mom was indifferent. Olivia didn't say a word. I walked out quickly, buckled Lily into the back seat. In the rearview mirror, I saw her staring out the window, lips pressed tight, still hugging the bunny. That helpless feeling rose in me like a crashing wave. "Sweetheart," I said softly, "if something's bothering you, you can always talk to me. I'm here to listen, okay?" Lily didn't respond. She just nodded slightly, eyes distant. That night, after she'd fallen asleep, I stood at her door for a long time. Something had changed. My daughter, the child who used to sing happily while baking with me, was now silent. And I knew I couldn't keep ignoring it. Something was happening in my mother's house. Something Lily couldn't say. Or didn't dare to. I leaned against the wall, heart heavy. I didn't know what the truth was yet, but I knew I was about to go all the way to find it. And this time, I wouldn't let my daughter face it alone. Wednesday afternoon, the sun was gentle and a cool breeze rustled through the bright red maple trees in the park near our house. I had just locked up the bakery when the phone rang. It was my mother. "Stephanie, can you come pick Lily up early?" Eleanor's voice came through, calm as always. She said she had a headache and went to lie down. "I think it's the sun." My heart raced. Lily rarely complained about feeling sick, and if she did, she always called me first. "I'll be right there." I grabbed my coat and rushed to the car. When I arrived, the door was slightly open. I stepped inside, but didn't see Mom or Olivia anywhere. The house was eerily quiet. I called out, "Lily?" No response. I ran upstairs. The guest room door was ajar. When I pushed it open, the sight before me made my blood run cold. Lily was lying on the bed, facing the wall. Her hair was messy, and a section was stuck to her head with dried blood. Her white t-shirt had several dark red stains. Her arms clutched the stuffed bunny to her chest, and her whole body trembled. "Lily?" I rushed over and held her. "Oh my God, what happened?" She slowly turned her head, her face contorted in pain. Tears streamed down her cheeks, her lips quivering. I slipped on the stairs, Lily whispered, eyes avoiding mine. I didn't believe it. A fall down the stairs couldn't have caused that kind of injury. That much blood? It didn't add up. I carried her downstairs. My mother was sitting on the sofa with a cup of tea in hand, and Olivia stood nearby, expressionless. Did you know what happened? I asked, my voice trembling with anger. Kids fall sometimes, my mother answered curtly. She cried for a bit and said she wanted to rest. She fell and got blood in her hair like that? Why didn't you call a doctor? Or at least call me earlier? You always overreact, Olivia cut in. She's fine. Benjamin said she tripped while running in the hallway. I froze. Benjamin. Again? I didn't say another word. I just held Lily tightly and walked straight to the car. Once we were safe inside, I gently dabbed the blood on her head with tissues. Lily whimpered, tears welling up again. Sweetheart, I'm taking you to the hospital right now. I'm here, don't be scared. On the way to the emergency room at Portland Children's Hospital, I kept glancing in the rearview mirror. Lily was silent, still hugging her bunny. Her eyes stared off into the distance, missing the brightness they used to have. The hospital wasn't too crowded. A nurse quickly led us to an exam room. A few minutes later, a middle-aged woman entered, introducing herself as Dr. Lisa Morgan. Her voice was gentle, but her eyes were sharp. You're Lily, right? I'm going to check you out, okay? She carefully examined the wound on Lily's head, then looked over her arms and legs. When I told her Lily said she fell down the stairs, Dr. Morgan didn't react right away, but I noticed the pensive look in her eyes. After stitching the cut and confirming there was no sign of serious internal injury, Dr. Morgan asked to speak with me privately. I'd like to talk to you for a moment, Stephanie. I sat across from her in the consultation room, my heart pounding. Ms. Stephanie, she began, calm but clear, I need to share some medical observations. Lily's head injury doesn't appear to be the result of a simple fall. The angle and depth suggest blunt force trauma, possibly from hitting the edge of a table or a wall. My throat tightened. Are you saying someone? She nodded slowly. I also found some older, faded bruises on Lily's arms and shoulders. Combined with her fearful reaction to physical contact, I suspect there may be harmful factors in her environment. I clenched my hands together. Lily told me she slipped, but I can feel she's hiding something. Dr. Morgan looked at me seriously. In cases like this, children often don't speak up out of fear, or because someone told them not to. I recommend you keep Lily away from any environment that could be harmful. We'll also file a preliminary report with Child Protective Services, as required. I nodded. Thank you, doctor. I won't let this happen again. When I returned to the room, Lily was drawing a small picture with the nurse. She saw me, stood up, and ran over to hug me tightly. I knelt down, resting my cheek on her soft hair. Even though I didn't know exactly what was going on, I felt one thing clearly. My daughter had been enduring this alone for too long. I whispered, I'm here now, Lily. Things will be different, I promise. I sat in the consultation room, hands still shaking after talking with Dr. Morgan. Everything she said felt like tiny needles piercing my heart, quietly painful but undeniable. Lily hadn't just been hurt once. She carried signs of long-term harm. And I, her mother, hadn't seen it sooner. I'd like to keep Lily overnight, Dr. Morgan said, interrupting my thoughts. We need to observe her further and schedule a visit with the child psychologist tomorrow morning. I nodded without hesitation. I'll stay with her. That night, I sat by Lily's bedside in the quiet pediatric ward. The soft hallway light spilled in through the small window on the door. Lily was asleep, still holding her bunny like a shield. Her face looked peaceful, but the traces of pain remained. I looked at her, heart heavy like stone. I had been warned. Through small changes in her behavior, but I kept brushing it off, thinking she was just adjusting to a new environment. But now, I couldn't lie to myself anymore. The next morning, a child psychologist named Dr. Rachel Bennett came to see Lily. She had a gentle smile and a warm, calming voice. "Would you like to draw something with me, Lily?" she asked, carrying a box of colored pencils and paper. Lily nodded softly and sat at the small table by the window. I was asked to step out while they worked. The wait felt agonizingly slow, like a rusted clock hand. I wanted to burst in, hold Lily and ask everything, but I knew pushing her would only make things worse. About 40 minutes later, Dr. Bennett came out, holding Lily's drawing. A house, a sun, a little girl standing alone, and next to her, a boy with an angry face, his eyes shaded in dark black. I can't draw any firm conclusions yet, but Lily clearly shows anxiety when it comes to her cousin. "Benjamin," she said gently but seriously. She depicted him as a frightening figure, consistently using dark colors to describe her interactions with him. I swallowed hard, a chill running through me. Did she say anything about what happened? Lily isn't ready to talk openly yet, but she kept repeating, "I'm not allowed to tell." When I asked who said that, she just shook her head and changed the subject. I buried my face in my hands, a wave of sorrow and anger crashing over me. I understood immediately. Someone had made Lily believe that telling the truth would bring worse consequences. "Ms. Stephanie," Dr. Bennett continued, "in situations like this, children often feel isolated. The most important thing now is to create a sense of absolute safety for Lily. She needs time and the assurance that no one can hurt her as long as you're by her side." I nodded, eyes stinging. "I won't let her go back to that house, no matter what happens. I'll protect Lily. We'll be filing an official report with Child Protective Services," she said. "As for you, I recommend keeping interactions with the other party to a minimum, especially until it's clear who's directly responsible." That night, after Lily had fallen asleep in my arms, I opened my phone and reread the old messages from my mother and Olivia. Every word felt like a dull blade, cold, indifferent, and always turning the blame back on me whenever I asked questions. Conversations I once brushed off as normal now revealed themselves as polished layers of toxic silence. I knew this, saying, "I'll protect my child," wasn't enough. I needed evidence. I needed the truth. And if I had to go up against my entire family to win back Lily's safety, I wouldn't hesitate. I looked down at her sleeping face. Her breathing was steady, her cheeks rosy after a long day. I leaned in, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "You are the most precious thing in the world to me, and I won't let anyone hurt you ever again." In that moment, there was only one thing left in my heart. I had to uncover everything. Even if the whole world turned its back on me, I wouldn't back down. Because I'm Lily's mother, and because she deserves to live in love, not fear. I left the hospital with Lily in the late afternoon the next day. She remained quiet, still weary from a sleepless night and the talk with the psychologist. On the drive home, Lily asked just one question. "Mom, I don't have to go back to Grandma's house, right?" I tightened my grip on the steering wheel, looked at her through the rearview mirror, and answered, voice trembling, "No, sweetheart, I promised." But inside I was torn. I knew that without solid proof, anything I said could be easily dismissed by my mother and Olivia. As a former lawyer, my mother had the experience to twist everything into a misunderstanding, and Olivia had always played the role of the perfect daughter in her eyes. If I cut off contact without clear justification, they'd put all the blame on me. And worse, they might try to get to Lily behind my back. That evening, after Lily was sound asleep, I called Maya, my best friend from college, now a software engineer. "Maya," I said after explaining everything, "I need your help. It's serious. It's about my daughter." Maya didn't ask much. She simply said, "Give me that stuffed bunny. I'll take care of the rest." 2 days later, Maya returned the familiar pink bunny. It looked exactly the same, every stitch untouched. But inside now was a tiny camera, recording up to 4 hours continuously when activated, with live feed streaming through an app Maya had installed on my phone. I stared at the bunny, emotions churning. No one ever wants to use something like this on their own family. But I knew the truth was the only thing that could protect Lily. Saturday morning, I called my mother. Her voice was as cold as ever. "Stephanie, I thought you weren't going to call back. You're blowing everything out of proportion." I kept my tone steady. "I have an urgent event tomorrow morning, a pastry conference with a big client. Can you watch Lily for a few hours?" She paused for a moment, then said, "Fine. Bring her over at 9. Benjamin will be home too." After the call, I sat quietly in the kitchen, the bunny lying in front of me. Lily walked out of her room, yawning, her hair messy. I knelt down and brushed it behind her ear. "Lily, today you need to go to Grandma's for a little while." "But this time?" "Mommy will be close." She looked at me, uncertain. I picked up the bunny and placed it in her hands. "Today, Bunny has a special mission. It's going to help Mommy know what's happening around you, even when I'm not there." Lily hugged the bunny tighter. "It can talk to you?" I nodded. "Yes, in its own way. Just keep it close, and Mommy will know you're okay." When I dropped Lily off, Olivia opened the door, looking reluctant. "Let's hope you don't cause another scene this time." I didn't respond. I just leaned down, kissed Lily's forehead, and whispered, "I'll be back for you soon." I didn't go far. Maya had helped me set up live streaming through the app. I sat in a cafe 3 blocks away, earbuds in, eyes locked on the screen. For the first 2 hours, everything seemed normal. Lily sat in the living room, coloring by the window. My mother occasionally walked by, and Olivia scrolled through her phone. But around noon, Benjamin appeared. He entered the frame, holding a toy car. "Why'd you bring that stupid thing?" His voice came out sharp. "Baby stuff." Lily flinched, clutching the bunny. "It's mine. Give it here." I said no. The footage shook slightly as Lily was pushed back. Benjamin leaned down, trying to snatch the bunny, but Lily held on tightly. "Stop it, please." Then, a loud thud. The sound of something hitting the wooden floor. I shot up from my seat, heart pounding. The image shook for a few seconds, then steadied. Lily was sitting on the floor, clutching her head, tears streaming down her face. Benjamin stood nearby, breathing heavily, then glanced away as if nothing had happened. I didn't wait another second. I grabbed my keys and ran straight to my mother's house. All I could think was, Lily had endured enough. And I wasn't letting her suffer one more minute. I don't remember how fast I drove, only that my hands trembled as I opened the car door, my heartbeat loud in my ears. When I got there, I rushed up the steps without knocking. The door flew open as I turned the knob. My mother was standing there, shocked. "Stephanie, what's going on? Why are you—" "Where's Lily?" I cut her off, eyes locked on the stairs. "She's in the room with Benjamin." But I had already passed her, not letting her say another word. I ran straight to the living room, the place I had just seen on screen. The door was open, and there was Lily, sitting on the floor alone, clutching her bunny, eyes red and cheeks streaked with tears. Benjamin stood by the bookshelf, hands in his pockets, like nothing had happened. "Lily?" I rushed over and pulled her into my arms. Her whole body trembled. "I'm okay, Mommy," she whispered. I turned to Benjamin, staring him down. "What did you do to my daughter?" He shrugged. "She wouldn't let me see the bunny, that's all." Just then, Olivia walked in, likely drawn by the noise. "Stephanie, what is going on? Why are you yelling?" I stood up, holding Lily tightly, eyes fixed on her. "You know what's been happening. And I have proof." Olivia froze. "What proof?" I pulled my phone from my pocket and opened the video from Maya's app. The footage was clear, the voices unmistakable. Benjamin pushing Lily, grabbing at the bunny, then walking away coldly. My daughter's sobs echoed in the quiet room. Olivia's face went pale. But instead of apologizing, she pressed her lips together and snapped, "He's just a kid, Stephanie. Kids fight over toys all the time. Why do you always overreact?" I couldn't hold back anymore. "Fighting over toys doesn't send a child to the hospital needing stitches, and you call that nothing?" My mother stormed in, voice sharp. "Stephanie, are you accusing your own family over a childish scuffle? Nothing serious happened." I turned sharply to face her. "Nothing serious? Do you know she's traumatized, can't sleep, too scared to speak up because someone made her feel threatened? I've stayed silent too long, but not anymore." I looked at Olivia, my voice firmer than ever. "You were in this house when Benjamin did it, and you did nothing. You covered for him instead of protecting her." "You're tearing this family apart, Stephanie," Olivia snapped, "all over a few scratches." I clenched my fists. "I'm not the one tearing it apart. It's the ones who ignored what was wrong that did that." I carried Lily to the car in the thick, tense silence of the house. As I shut the door behind me, I didn't look back. I knew then that, from that moment on, everything had changed forever. When we got home, I laid Lily down in bed. She fell asleep quickly, a deep sleep for the first time in days. I sat beside her, gently brushing her soft hair, feeling like I had just made it through a storm. That night, I sent the full recording to Dr. Morgan and Child Protective Services. I didn't need promises or pity. I needed justice for my daughter. I knew the battle wasn't over, but I finally had what I needed to begin. Less than 24 hours later, a social worker called me. "We've reviewed the video. We're opening a formal investigation into the situation at Ms. Eleanor's residence. For now, all contact between Lily and the maternal side of the family will be suspended until a final decision is reached." I exhaled, knowing there was still a long road ahead. But at least this time, I wasn't walking it alone. I looked back at Lily, peacefully asleep, holding her stuffed bunny in her arms. That tiny girl had endured more than anyone ever should. But from now on, I would be her strongest shield. I whispered, "We're not going back there again, sweetheart, I promise." 3 days after I sent the video recorded by the bunny, the formal investigation was launched. A representative from Oregon Child Protective Services contacted me on Tuesday morning, informing me that interviews would be conducted with everyone in my family. My mother, Olivia, Benjamin, and Lily, with a child psychologist present. The interviews took place at the Multnomah County Social Services office. I sat beside Lily in a bright room with drawings on the walls. A caseworker named Julia, with gentle eyes and a warm voice, knelt down to Lily's level. "You can tell me anything you want, sweetie. No one can hurt you here, okay?" Lily looked at me for a second, then gave a small nod. I stepped out, my chest tight, but I knew this was a necessary step to help my daughter find her voice. That afternoon, I was invited back to hear the preliminary findings. Julia looked at me seriously. Lily confirmed that Benjamin repeatedly pushed her, took her toys, and threatened her when adults weren't around. She said that when she tried to tell someone, both Aunt Olivia and Grandma told her to stay quiet because Benjamin didn't mean it, and that kids have to learn to share. A chill ran down my spine. Julia continued, "With the video evidence, Lily's account, and Dr. Morgan's report, we have sufficient grounds to intervene. Tomorrow, the police will be officially interviewing Ms. Eleanor and Ms. Olivia." The next morning, I received a call from Inspector Martin, the officer assigned to the case. "We've completed initial statements. Benjamin has been temporarily placed in a special adolescent counseling center. During treatment, he won't have any contact with Lily." I let out a long breath. Finally, a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel. Later that day, police arrived at my mother's house with a court order. My mother was charged with neglectful supervision of a minor, while Olivia faced accusations of ignoring harmful behavior by a child in her care. Neither was taken into custody, but both were ordered to attend a 6-month family rehabilitation counseling program and complete 120 hours of community service. I knew no punishment could erase what Lily had endured, but this was the beginning, where the truth was finally being heard. As for Benjamin, he was transferred to a child psychology center in Eugene, about a 2-hour drive from Portland. There, he would receive therapy 3 times a week, focusing on behavior management and emotional processing. The things Lily had suffered, though caused by another child, were still red flags that called for early intervention. A week later, I received a court notice officially granting me sole custody of Lily. All visitation rights from the maternal side of the family were indefinitely suspended. As I left the courtroom, Lily's small hand in mine, I felt like I had finally shaken off a weight that had been pressing on me for far too long. My mother tried to reach out a few times after that. She left voice messages, sounding softer than before. "Stephanie, I know you're upset, but we're still family." I listened to them all, but I didn't reply. For the first time in years, I chose silence, not out of fear, but because I no longer owed anyone my pain. Lily returned to school, closely monitored by a school counselor. She also met with a therapist weekly, and I started seeing her smile again. One afternoon, while I was making dinner, she tugged on my hand and pointed toward the pink tulips in the front yard. "Mommy, guess what? I'm not scared anymore." I bent down and hugged her tightly. "Me neither. We made it, sweetheart. Our story isn't over." But through it all, I've learned this. Even in a world that sometimes turns away from the truth, there's still light. If you're brave enough to walk through the darkness. And now, I'm not just a mother protecting her child. I'm the one who brought the truth into the light, because my little girl deserves to live in safety and love. Spring arrived late in Portland, bringing gentle rain and the soft scent of cherry blossoms drifting through quiet streets. Lily had grown more stable after 3 months of consistent therapy with Dr. Rachel Bennett. Twice a week, I took her to the counseling center, where the rooms were filled with color, dolls, drawings, and stuffed animals. There, Lily didn't have to speak unless she was ready. She could draw, play, and let her emotions speak for her. "She's responding very well," Dr. Bennett told me during a recent session. "There's still fear underneath, but Lily is learning to name her feelings. That's a critical first step toward healing." I watched Lily through the one-way mirror. She was stacking blocks, giggling softly when she got them to fit. My throat tightened. Every smile she shared now felt like a victory. A small one, but powerful enough to make me stronger each day. Our lives began a new chapter, too. I had decided to sell the small apartment near the bakery, the first home we shared, but also the place tied to so much uncertainty. With years of savings from the business and a grant from the Oregon Single Parent Assistance Fund, thanks to Lily's special case, I was able to buy a small house in the southern suburbs. Quiet, with a yard and a big maple tree out front. Lily squealed the first time she stepped inside. "Mommy, real grass!" "Can I plant flowers?" I smiled. "Of course. We'll plant tulips, like we had in front of the bakery. Remember?" She nodded eagerly. That night, Lily fell asleep earlier than usual. She still hugged her stuffed bunny. Just a toy now, no longer a secret guardian. And I stood on the porch, watching the light from her bedroom window, my heart strangely at peace. I also started writing. Late at night, after closing the shop and tucking Lily in, I sat at my laptop, recounting our journey. Every step, every wound, every decision. Not to reopen the pain, but so other mothers lost in the dark might see they are not alone. A month later, I received an invitation from Safe Steps Oregon, an organization that supports families with emotionally traumatized children. They had read my personal blog, where I shared Lily's story with honesty and courage. They wanted me to speak at their annual panel for parents and child psychology professionals. I hesitated at first. Public speaking was never my strength. But then I looked at Lily, now braver, raising her hand in class, expressing her feelings without fear. I realized I had to step out of my comfort zone too, just as my daughter does every day. The first talk took place at a community library. I stood on a small stage under soft lighting. In front of me were dozens of faces, fathers holding their children, mothers quietly wiping away tears. I shared my journey, without embellishment, without judgment. I spoke about the initial doubt, the pain of discovering the truth, and the strength that rose from unconditional love. At the end, a young woman came up to me. She held my hand, eyes red. "Your story made me realize I need to speak up too. Thank you." I held her hand and gently said, "We're all stronger than we think." Over the next month, I received more invitations from schools, parent support groups, even a local radio station. I was no longer just the mom who baked and stayed behind the counter. I was Stephanie, a mother who fought back, who stood up, and who chose truth over silence. Every morning, Lily and I watered the garden. We planted tomatoes, chrysanthemums, and a little lavender bush. One afternoon, while washing her hands in the backyard, Lily whispered, "Mommy, I'm not scared anymore. I know no matter what happens, you'll believe me." I pulled her into my arms, feeling her little heart beating steadily against mine. "That's right, sweetheart. I will always believe you, and I'll always be by your side." In the early summer sunlight, one thing became clearer than ever. We didn't just survive the storm. We learned how to live stronger after the rain. June came with golden sunshine stretching across the backyard of our new home. Lily excitedly counted down the days to her 9th birthday. She'd already prepared invitations, picked out balloon colors, and even made a list of cakes she wanted me to bake. "I want a 3-tier chocolate cake with rainbow sprinkles on top," she said, her eyes shining. I nodded, smiling. "Mom's got that covered. Your job is to pick the party's first song." That morning, I was busy decorating the yard when the doorbell rang. I opened the door and froze. My mother, Eleanor, stood there, holding a small gift wrapped in soft floral paper. She wore a light gray dress, her hair neatly tied back, and for the first time in a long time, her eyes didn't hold that usual look of judgment. "Hi, Stephanie," she said gently, a bit hesitant. "I know today is Lily's birthday. I didn't expect to be invited, but I brought her something." I looked at the gift, a swirl of emotions rising inside me. "How did you even know? Did you forget I still keep all the grandkids' birthdays on my calendar?" She gave a sad smile. "At first, I thought I was right, that you were overreacting, placing blame. But after several sessions of mandatory counseling, I've realized there are things we just can't keep denying." I took the gift without saying anything. She hesitated, then turned to leave, but just as she stepped off the porch, Lily ran out from inside. "Mommy, who's—" She stopped when she saw her grandmother. The two of them looked at each other in a long silence. Eleanor bent down and said softly, "Happy birthday, Lily. I'm very sorry I didn't protect you." Lily didn't respond, but after she walked away, my daughter tugged on my sleeve. "Can I open Grandma's gift?" I nodded. Inside was a hand-knitted lavender-colored shawl, Lily's favorite color. The stitches were uneven, clearly made by someone inexperienced, but that made it all the more special. "Grandma made this for me?" Lily asked, eyes wide. I nodded. "I think so, sweetheart." Lily hugged the shawl and smiled faintly. "Then I'll keep it, but I'm still not ready to see her much. I'm just not mad anymore." I wrapped my arms around her. "You don't have to forgive if you're not ready. As long as you feel safe, that's all that matters." Meanwhile, Olivia had stayed silent for months. After the court hearing, she was restricted from unsupervised contact with Benjamin. Temporary custody was granted to his father, and she could only visit him once a week under supervision. She never called me, never apologized. To her, I was the one who had betrayed the family. But I didn't need an apology. I didn't need validation. Because I knew what I did was right. That afternoon, Lily's small party took place under the soft golden sun. A few neighborhood kids ran around the yard, laughter echoing through the air. Lily wore a floral dress she picked out herself, the new purple shawl draped around her shoulders. When I brought out the cake, everyone clapped and cheered. Lily closed her eyes, made a wish, and blew out the candles to a chorus of joy. Later, as most guests had gone, Lily sat on the steps holding her old stuffed bunny, now faded and fraying at the ears. "You know what?" she whispered, gazing up at the sky. "I'm not scared anymore." I turned to her and took her hand. "I think that bunny helped me be brave. It stayed with me even when I couldn't say anything, but now I know I have you. And you'll hear me, even if I stay quiet." I held her close, my heart melting with emotion. "We're really strong girls, aren't we, Mommy?" Lily looked up at me. I kissed her forehead and whispered, "Yes, sweetheart, we're very strong girls." A soft breeze blew through, carrying the scent of lavender from the backyard. I looked around our new home, at my daughter, who had walked through fear with quiet courage. And I knew that while this journey hadn't been easy, we had come through it. And from now on, we wouldn't just live. We would live freely, fully, and with love. From our story, I've come to understand that silence is never the way to protect those we love. Sometimes, to protect a child, you have to stand up to even those closest to you. I used to fear judgment, used to question myself. But I've learned, being a mother isn't just about love. It's about having the courage to fight for your child's safety and voice. Now I believe every mother can become a fortress if she's willing to step through that first fear. What do you think about Stephanie and Lily's journey? Share your thoughts below. Don't forget to follow the channel so you don't miss more emotional stories and powerful lessons about family, love, and courage in life.